Welcome. We're going to allow a couple of seconds to allow everyone into the webinar today. My name is Noemi Guevara, and it's my pleasure as the Director of Alumni Engagement to welcome you to this edition of the 49er Industry Chat. Before we start, we would like to let you know this session is being recorded and it will live on our website for future viewership. We also encourage you to use our Q&A box located below to submit any questions you have for our guest speaker today. And now I would like to introduce our moderator for the chat, Vince Calles. Vince earned his degree in philosophy in 2013. Since graduating, he has remained involved in the campus community and giving of his time. Vince, thank you so much for moderating the chat today, and now I turn it over to you.
Thanks, Noemi. It gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speaker. It's Brad Koontz, and he's a proud Long Beach State alum. He's earned his bachelor's degree in economics. He has more than 25 years of experience in telecommunications and cybersecurity, and he's held various roles in sales, engineering, channel management. Okay, he's worked for some of the big companies with AT&T, Verizon, and right now he's currently Senior Vice President for X3 Tech's company, which is driving cloud and security services. So the industry is undergoing major changes right now and rolling out new technology in response to the COVID-19. And the company that he works for helps organize this through digital transformation by introducing new cloud and security technology. So X3 Tech's been recognized as one of the top cloud contact centers as a service provider and has customers all across the USA. And I'm just excited to hear about this. So leading today's industry chat, please help me welcome Brad Koontz. Brad, take it away.
All right, hey, I really appreciate that, Vince. And I am a proud alum. It's been a long time. I think the year that I graduated was the year before the pyramid was actually built. So it's great to see the campus grow how it's been. What I just say is for those of you that are on, feel free to ask questions, stop me. Really this chat is for you guys and making sure you get as much information as you can. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. And let's see. So as Vince has noted, I graduated in 93 with an economics major and really thought that I was going to be an underwriter for an insurance company when I left Cal State Long Beach. So it's been a great journey. Man, I was looking back, 93. Wow, that's 27 years. So for those of you that have been around a long time, I'm sure you're doing the same thing. And for those of you just graduating and just trying to figure out what to do with your degree, hopefully this will give you some ideas. So really the agenda, I'm just going to introduce myself, give you an idea of my background. I'm going to go over the telecommunications industry. I've had a lot of jobs, but for the most part, my jobs have really been in one industry. It's been a great industry. There's a lot of changes. Give you guys some idea on that. Also, give you an idea. Some of you guys may be entrepreneurs and want to know what it's like to work for yourself or build your own business. This is another industry that you can do that. As well as just give you some words of wisdom, not just for myself, but you know, just things that I wish I would have listened to when I was 23. Okay. So again, Brad Koontz. So I got into the IT industry back in 1998, and this was right about the time that, if for those of you that remember AOL and dial-up, that's when I got into the technology business. The reason for that was I was running insurance leads as an independent insurance agent at the time out in Riverside. I ran into some software where you could do video conferencing over dial-up. I wanted to cut my commute from 3 hours down to maybe a 20-minute video call But if you ever did video conferencing back when it was first starting, you couldn't keep a connection. You'd say 3 words, it would drop, dial up. It was just terrible. But right about that time is when broadband, or fast internet as we know it today, came out, and that's where I got my start. So really, most of my roles for the last 20 years have revolved around sales and engineering. Traditionally, that's been in network. When I say network, connecting, think of it as just a wire connecting 2 buildings or 2 people together. Some of the words in my industry that you'll hear are SD-WAN or SASE. Just think of that as the new networking versus the legacy networking that I've been working on for the last 18 years. And that's popping up in our industry. Software as a service is starting to become big. So I have a lot of experience in contact center and traditional. Well, we're using Zoom today, where Zoom really pairs with UC as a service. Now I can call the Pizza Hut across the street with my Zoom call. So a little different. But as you can see, I've had a lot of skills in those areas. Worked for some major corporations. When I got into this industry, I started as a startup. Thought I was going to be rich. We had stock options given to us. In fact, I still have the stock option from Merrill Lynch from my first startup company that is worth probably less than a penny today. But it really gave me some experience on startups are great, as well as, I've worked my career with corporations like AT&T and Verizon, which has been great as well, but it comes with its own caveats. I have worked in the channel and agent management. That's where, for those of you that may want to do your own business and sell telecommunications, channel manager is the person that helps you really start that business and give you the ability to sell products and get paid commissions on that. Currently, I hold, I'm an ISC2 member. I do hold a certificate for what that's worth. What we have been seeing in that industry is really this push towards really educating our youth or the people in school around cybersecurity, because there is a big deficit these days in cybersecurity. In fact, there's a $2 million, or not 2 million, 2 million person deficit of those companies looking for qualified individuals that we just don't have them. So, and Long Beach is a program for that. Highly encourage you to look into it. I have 2 daughters, 18, 20. I did have my oldest daughter went to Cal State Long Beach for about 6 months and then decided she wanted to get into business and ended up going to Dominguez Hills. So I'm okay with that. Hobbies really include surfing, archery, hunting, hiking, and travel. Okay. If you want to know a little bit more about my experience, you can go on to my LinkedIn. I put my personal one as well as our company, X3 Tech. That'll give you an idea as what we do as a company from a broker standpoint. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and pause there. Any questions on background?
And you know what, Brad? It's a lot to unpack. You know, I can tell already just from being in the industry that it has its own language, right? Like you said, SD-WAN, SASE, and you tell somebody you're SASE, they're gonna think something else completely. So, it's is it something that you have to do a lot of certification and like continued learning, or once you're in it, that's it? You don't have to do anything anymore as far as like these titles that you have?
Really, the best advice I could give you is think about what, the services that I provide really help a business succeed in 2 areas, either making money or saving money. And so these acronyms are really great, but really what it is a technology that helps, businesses be a little more efficient, make better decisions. So what I would say, and I've worked in other industries as well, and they have their own acronyms. I'd say learn how whatever you do it affects a business. Okay. In my business, certifications were very, very big early on around networking. Everybody's probably had Cisco or maybe has 401k with Cisco stock. It was big to have a certification, and actually, you know, they're still important, I'd say, in different areas. In the past, it used to be networking. Now it seems a lot of the certifications are centered around more of cybersecurity. Cloud, how do I take my current infrastructure and put it in the cloud? Those certifications are highly valuable, as well as a lot of the data scientists and business intelligence. I got told a long time ago, when I say a long time ago, I'd say probably 7 years ago, we were starting to sell cloud, and I got told by a CEO, when I told him, hey, well, you should take a look at the cloud, he was like, look, we haven't collected any data for the last, you know, since we've been in existence. So until I collect a good source of data to crunch, it's, you know, artificial intelligence and business intelligence is worthless to me. And that's really what a lot of businesses have been collecting the last 7 days, or 7 to 8 years. So those certifications are very valuable as well. So, you know, I'd say as education changes, anything that you can do to have a certification, if you're not, don't have a degree behind it, highly valuable.
And you kind of mentioned that too with I guess it is a certification program that they're offering at the university. So how does somebody get into cybersecurity in and of itself? Then do they have to have certification, or is there a degree for that? Or do you go more experience-based with the company that you start off with in IT?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was going to school, there was one, I'd say one computer degree. I think it was information systems at the time. And I didn't graduate the computer degree, but that's the industry that I ended up in. So nowadays, there are degrees being centered around cybersecurity. You know, USC has a fabulous program. A lot of schools are, MIT has a great one, but a lot of schools are really just adding certification programs. So when you look at who's hiring, what is being hired in the market is you do have to have a certification. So whether it's like in cybersecurity, it's CISSP or GAIC or some other certification, that's important. You can't just have a degree behind it. But what it does is it helps with the framework. So essentially, how I got into cybersecurity is I just saw the writing on the wall with my business going, I wouldn't say going away, but becoming a little more transactional and commoditized. My AT&T at the time offered a certification program in cybersecurity. I really thought it was a golden ticket. And it was only going to take me 8 weeks. I was going to be certified in cybersecurity and, hey, ready to hack somebody. It just wasn't the case, but that 8 weeks really gave me a good foundation, as in, wow, this is pretty easy to understand once you understand the format, because you think of cybersecurity as really like layers. How many layers can I put in place, and what are the top layers to put in? So what that did is it gave me an interest in a subject that I didn't have before. And then when I was done with the certification program, I could have gone on and got a degree, because at that time they were starting to give cybersecurity, I guess, degrees. And they're starting to do that more and more now. So I wouldn't poo-poo it. I would just say learn about the best people are people that understand business and technology, because nobody buys technology just to buy it. It's a cost to the business. They're only going to buy it if it makes sense. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And then at that point, when I got my certification, I looked at the certs out there that were being hired, and I chose the CISSP because they also have a cloud security track and other tracks as well. but by no means they're not the only one.
Right, right. And I like how, you're kind of talking about there's a business aspect of it merging with the technology side. So you having that economics degree kind of gives you that bigger picture of how to merge that. And when you're speaking with a client or a company, when you're setting these things up. So like how does it help?
Yeah, it's funny because like the minute you go into a corporation, they're going to train you that talk to a business about their goals and initiatives. And immediately most people go in and start talking about products, services, and what the marketing jargon really is. And even with an economics major, I understood profit loss and stuff like that, but I didn't understand, I guess, going through it. So it did help, but it literally took me 10 years of talking about product to understand, wow, instead of talking about product, I understand their industry, what makes them money, what kind of their issues are. I'll take like the retail industry here in Southern California. It was very, very big. I mean, we have True Religion, BCBG, PacSun, Tilly's, James Party, tons of them. And look what's happened to them now. Nobody can go into the store. So, a lot of those companies, did they prepare for e-commerce down the road? Did they have a plan? So those are the kind of things that really will drive conversations, no matter what service or product that, when you're talking to businesses. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Cool. You mind if I move to the next slide there, Vince?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. Hey, so I like stats. I don't know how legit this is other than because Simply Hired was not around in 1993. I think Monster was the only company that was doing job placement when I was out of school. In fact, I think the year that I graduated, Cal State Long Beach got one computer with the internet, Mozilla at the time. So I wanted to go back and see, in 93, what were the top jobs and maybe average salary. And I thought it was a little shocking, but as you can see, it was a sales consultant, general manager, all the way down to, team member, crew member, and the average salary was $74,000. Like that was a fortune for me back in 1993. And I wanted to get into sales just simply from a income standpoint. But I would have much rather sat in an office and crunched numbers and been an insurance underwriter. So then I looked at 2020, after getting contacted, and I looked, and it was odd. The average salary was, less, which is scary these days. But if you look at what's been going on since 1993, you've seen a lot of automation happen in businesses. So where it can be automated, salaries are going to be driven down. But if you look, truck driver, I actually had one of my friends who, makes six figures being a truck driver. He loves it. Don't ask me why, but why a truck driver? Well, Amazon. I mean, everybody's buying online. Somebody's got to deliver that to, in telecommunications, we call that the last mile, getting it from the warehouse to your actual house. Nurses, sales representatives, you see that still in there. A lot in the medical field, teachers, customer service rep, we're being driven to a more service-ended society. Just thought that was some interesting data out there. As you can notice, like when I was trying to look for the top jobs, I didn't see telecommunications in there at all. In fact, I really was going to go into the insurance industry, like I told you before. It just so happened at the time when broadband was coming out, I had my second child, I needed health insurance, and somebody gave me a job. It was pretty much that simple. And since then, I tell people I've been on a job search for the last 25 years because I love the industry and I really get to see a lot of different job titles. I get to see a lot of different industries and a lot of different companies that are successful and that fail. So the telecommunications industry itself is pretty broad. Back in the day when I was going to school, 1993, in 1994, AT&T had to, by law, allow other companies to sell long distance. That was a big, very, very big. In fact, I remember taking an econ course about oligopolies, and AT&T was, that was the case study. So traditionally, telecommunications, most people thought of it as like, oh, you sell long distance or you sell cell phones. I mean, that's what I thought. In fact, a year that I got out of college, I got a job interview down in downtown LA at 818 West 7th Street on the, I think it was on top floor at the time. Walked in, office was super busy. I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Walked in, the manager's like, so yeah, you just graduated. Do you want to come and work for us? What do you see yourself doing in 2 years? And I was really wanted to get an MBA and maybe be a teacher. Told her that. I didn't get a call back. Let's put it that way. So went and struggled for a while. 3 years later, I end up in a telecommunications job due to a bankruptcy in the same office floor. And I could have rode a 4 years of a wave if I would have just been a little more open-minded into other industries. So sorry to digress, but that's just keep open, keep an open mind. So nowadays, telecommunications, a lot of that stuff, if you think about business and revenue, they were able to charge $1 a minute. Nowadays, long distance is free. So telecommunication companies, because they're a combination of being regulated by the government as well as being able to compete in a marketplace, if they're in a market where their revenue is going down, they have to constantly add new services to their customer base to get them to pay more money. So that started with long distance, dial tone, what's considered network connectivity like MPLS, internet access, consulting services, you did that like some of the very, very global and enterprise customers back in the day. It was just too costly for small to mid-sized businesses. Now, these guys actually offer really good consulting services to small and mid-sized companies. So they offer anything from telecommunications architecture to, say, cybersecurity consulting. There's a big push in our marketplace towards cloud and software as a service. That is causing a lot of disruption in how companies have traditionally protected their data. So security services they offer were getting more global in nature, so they offer international services, and they're big on digital transformation. So when I got in, like I said, in 1998 and 94, it was really around regulatory changes. Now, probably the first time in 20 years, this industry is going through a massive change on the infrastructure or the plumbing side of the house that, it's just very, very interesting, and you can make a lot of money. I mean, it's a really good time. Job titles, you don't have to go into sales. And I would say you don't have to be a computer expert to be, if you like sales. Really, the best sales consultants are really people that can talk to other people about and just communicate back and forth. I like math. That tends to make me sometimes a shy person, and I have people that are Spanish majors, English majors that are at the top of my field. I mean, so doesn't really matter what your degree is. I would say, these are some of the job titles that I've either worked or have had over my career. Account manager, director, customer service, sales engineering. You can be a marketing director. You can be in charge of a new product for these guys. Channel manager, project manager, where you're helping roll out different projects. finance, where you're evaluating, hey, is this a good deal for the company? Are we going to make money on this? Are we losing money? You could sit in, if you drive by any building that has an AT&T or Verizon sign on it, that's one of those old bunkers. You could sit in a data center and be a data center technician. Or you could be what I am right now, which is what's called a solution provider. And it's almost a hybrid between being your own entrepreneur and working for a company. And I'll discuss that a little later in my presentation. So I'm going to stop there. Vince, any questions that you may have there? Anything you want me to expand on?
Man, it's just amazing that just the flexibility of being able to jump into different titles. I think a lot of students, when they graduate, they're concerned with doing that one thing, being boxed into that one industry or one type of job. But if you're noticing here, just from your experience with what you're sharing, it's you got to be flexible and put on many hats, and sometimes you'll bounce from this category to another, and one division to something else. And what do you say about that, about flexibility, about being open to different opportunities?
What I would say is that's really how the job market is these days. Somebody handed me a paper that said you got to think like a mercantilist, like in 1994, which is basically thinking like your own person, because the chances of you having a job with a corporation or a company for over 5 years, you really got to consider yourself lucky, or you're working in a profession like lawyer, doctor. And how I kind of learned the flexibility was, I was doing great my job, but this is where economics came into play. Is when the economy is going through a downturn, what drives any business is the sales department. And if the sales department isn't doing good, then that's the biggest cost to the business, and they have to cut that labor cost. Well, if nobody's making sales, shortly after that, they're going to cut customer service, because if nobody's selling, there's no customers to serve. There's no money to pay a customer service rep, and the cycle kind of, goes round and round. So you're going to find that this will happen in your career in almost any industry. And so what you have to do is really take a look at, maybe your title is being retired. I mean, that happened to me 3 times at AT&T, and I had to choose to go back to a title I didn't think that I really deserved, which, these days you really kind of have to be blessed that you got a job. But being young and immature, I thought that. But when I found a job that allowed me to learn, allowed me to grow as a professional, I was willing to take different jobs, and those different jobs led me to meet other people, which led to different jobs. And so, what I would say is just be flexible. It's a lot easier to be flexible inside a company that you have history with and been around. And if you really like that industry, you should work all jobs in there, because that's the only way you're going to know all facets of it. Or if you don't like it, best thing you do is cut bait as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One question that I got coming in is COVID-19 and telecommunications. How has it been impacted, if at all?
Actually, it's really grown. If you think about it, nobody knew what Zoom was. I mean, I've been selling Zoom for 4 years, and if you look at, let's just look at from a network standpoint, and that might be a good way to go. Let me just kind of go into the next slide, because this will probably explain it. So, so I'll just, and I'm going to get to your question. I promise. So look at this picture. So this was me in 1993. Okay. In 2007, I was part of the AT&T sales team that was able to sell the Apple iPhone for the first time ever. And this is what they came, when they showed us, it was a little, you know, it's an iPhone. It has all of this in here. It's crazy. So that's how much things have changed in the telecommunications industry just in 27 years, okay? So right now, this was all going into a phone. What's happening in the business telecommunications world is when you're connecting multiple offices or you're connecting people that are calling you, you had to have a box that housed a different piece of software, just like just like this guy did back in the day. So right now, there's about 7 pieces of equipment sitting on a customer's site that can be consolidated into one piece of equipment. So that's one. Before COVID was happening, this is starting to happen. Not just here in the U.S., but in Australia, the country came out and said everybody's got to move to fiber and voice over IP, or you know what you guys would consider like, you know, talking on WhatsApp. Okay, I mean, this is happening globally. So that's what was happening before COVID-19. Okay. And the reason that was happening was, one, there was a cost benefit. So like I talked before, here was all the pieces of equipment that sit on a customer or, you know, any businesses, any location. And from that, they get everything on the right-hand side. These are called software or services that, you know, think of what a business uses. You talk on the phone, you look at a customer up in a computer, you may, you know, transfer to your buddy because they have special knowledge. You know, those are all stuff that, one, you know, was very costly, that's now moving to a more flexible standpoint. So if you think about this during COVID, okay, say I wanted to just stick in this environment because I think the cloud is, it's not secure, it's unreliable. Well, okay, guess what? COVID happens, all of your software is sitting here, and now you can't bring anybody into the office to use that software, so now your business is dead. Versus the organization that can move to the cloud so that instead of people being inside of the office to connect to this software, they can now be anywhere in the world, okay, as long as they have an internet connection. So that's really where COVID has started to take off, is organizations were in this transition. COVID is just speeding up this transition, okay? And so we're growing. The biggest things right now that businesses are struggling with are on the voice communication side. That's contact center as a service, UC as a service. That's the area that we kind of play in. And then security, because the security device, think of it as almost like a scrubber here. You got to have a scrubber in the cloud because your guys are everywhere. Okay, so that's very big. That's a big transition that's happening now. And there's just not enough people that understand it, that can help businesses educate them on it, scope it out for it, contract them, implement it, and then say it's billing correctly. So long answer, it's growing like rapidly. In fact, it's gotten busier since COVID-19, okay?
Yeah. Got one question for you, Brad.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah. So, you know, somebody is expressing interest in this industry. Where would they start? Or how can they get internships, or just, you know, dive into a little bit more? If the industry is so vast, where can they kind of find which space they want to be in?
What I would say is, so on the screen, I have, you know, a bunch of the companies that sit in the telecommunications space, okay? Traditionally, down here in the network level, that's where, like, you could go to Verizon, AT&T, Lumen, any kind of internship. A lot of the what they call, these are called local exchange carriers, is what they were called back in the day, and there were only 7 that were allowed in the United States, okay? those are the traditional guys. They offer everything from network all the way up to the top here, you know, from software. Okay. Those are great places to start if you want to know, you know, kind of an overview of the entire industry. They also offer internships. There's a lot of these companies right here that are really, really fast growing right now that need everything from customer reps to administrative admins. You know, really it's just, you know, contacting these companies and seeing where they're hiring. Beyond that, leveraging, you know, kind of Cal State Long Beach is really leverage your network and LinkedIn. I highly encourage you to grow your LinkedIn network. You know, connect with one person a day. You know, I'll just give you an idea. So my brother and I are we work in the same company, same industry. He's a very outgoing guy. He's got like 30,000 connections and he milks that all day long. I've got about 3,000. And I'm trying to build my network, but that's really where, if you think about business intelligence and artificial intelligence, it's collecting data. And every single one of these guys on this screen are collecting your data, protecting your data, storing your data, and every single one of them needs help. Outside of that, you know, if any of you want to get into this industry, I can absolutely I put my email and phone number or cell phone on there. You can absolutely contact me. I can be glad to help you. A lot of these companies, so I mentioned a solution provider. So that's what I do. So essentially what I am is I'm a broker. If you look at all of these companies on here, this happened about 30 years ago in the insurance industry. Think of Allstate, State Farm. They had all of these direct sales reps that they paid a salary to. They paid health insurance for. If you know they got hurt on the job, they were liable for employee lawsuits. You name it. And what they were finding is like, wow, it's pretty easy to sell insurance. People are just going for the cheapest stuff. So let's take people that have been in the industry and just pay them a commission and not pay them anything else and let them go out and sell. And that's how the broker market happened in the insurance world. And that has been happening in the telecommunications world for the last probably 15 years. What we do is we sell these products and we act as kind of the pre-sales engineer, post-sales engineering, which means we architect it, contract it, and put it in place. And then once that's done, the vendors pay us a commission, and then the customer or organizations pay no money at all, which is a big benefit to them if they can find somebody that has good expertise. For that, you get a mix of payments. You get residual payments, where you get paid for the life of the contract or as long as the customer stays with the organization. That could be anywhere from 2 years to, we're still getting paid on customers that we sold 8 years ago. Okay. And then you also have these one-time payments as well. That's really a easy market it's an easy way to get into telecommunications, but it can be also very, very tough because you kind of eat what you kill. What's happening though is in the past, for me to be a solution provider, it took me about 5 years to build up a point where I could replace my salary and income with the residual or these type of payments. Nowadays, these companies pay it's incredible. So what I can say is work the alumni system, LinkedIn. If you have an interest in a company, peg those guys on LinkedIn and get somebody to talk to you. I guarantee they will. And contact me, and I'd be glad to give you any info on how to get into the telecommunications. It's pretty broad to kind of explain in 45 minutes. All I can tell you is every single one of these boxes are changing and they need help. Okay. reason I chose cybersecurity is, as you can tell, well, this is what people have to choose from. So when I'm a business and I want to protect myself, I either have to hire somebody to go and research all these boxes, or I hire somebody like X3 Tech and let them do the work for me and really give me a true agnostic, honest look at the marketplace. And I see this as a big change in the marketplace, just like I did 20 years ago. By no means is this the only one. This is just the one that interests me a lot. And being at Long Beach State, we have this program. I highly encourage you to look at it, even if you have a major outside of computers. Okay? Also, you know, it's not just that there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. There truly is a business case for this right now. So like I mentioned, there's 2 million unfilled security jobs in 2019. Okay, that's whether you're the security guy or somebody else on the team. This is what you would have to pay for as a business for a single individual, $175K, or you could buy these 6 services and be, in my opinion, protected a lot better than just hiring one person. Where I sit in this is I get paid, or our company, our business, people in our business get paid on all of these services. And so, you know, it's a big benefit right now for businesses. Hiring one full-time employee is great, but you can guarantee that they're probably going to get 7 other job offers while they're with you. Or even if you're the security guy, you're going to get 7 different offers. And, you know, that's just the marketplace right now. So, okay. I know we're coming back on time. I'll just kind of rush through this. You know, what would I tell a 23-year-old me? Change is constant. Just get used to it. Like, if you can't handle change, it's going to be very, very tough. I really had to own that. And then be persistent. Just because you're in an industry or a job that you may not like, you know, stick it out for a little bit, you know, give it a little bit of time. Or if for some reason you go into a job you thought you weren't going to be, you know, maybe you're not as successful out the gate as you thought you would have been, be persistent. I would not have stayed in this industry if somebody hadn't come up to my cubicle and basically put a piece of paper in front of me that said, be persistent. Because after about 2 months, some of these corporate jobs can be really, really tough. But I'm glad that I stuck it out. It was just part of the growing experience I had. You know, as you can tell, I've had 23 different jobs over my career. Most of that has been in the same industry. It's been pretty varied. I think different jobs give you different perspectives, so that once you find the job that you're calling, you're going to be, you know, ahead of everybody else that's up here. Okay. I'll leave this for you guys. You know, these are just, I ask my peer group. I'm big on, I'm not the know-it-all. I'm not the brain. I know some things, but I'm really a big believer in teams. Because everybody brings something or a different skill set to the game. And that's why I say go out and reach out to your peers on LinkedIn. These are some of my peers and some of the advice that they wanted to give you guys. Okay. And then other than that, you know, I hated to rush through this or hog up time, but if you got any other questions, you know, I'm available for the next 15 minutes and you can hang on. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, Brad, thank you for that. And I love the visuals. It definitely puts it into perspective of how big the industry is and how you need someone like yourself to kind of navigate through that, and an expert that has that experience and say, hey, look, this is something that you can do. These are the services that you need. Because just looking at that picture, my head almost exploded. So much content on there, man. I don't know how.
Yeah, like literally. This is what a business. This is why you see cybersecurity certification programs everywhere, because this is what a business. I mean, Vince, You sell business insurance, and you know how confusing it is for business insurance. This is the exact same thing. It's just, my head would explode too. I just want to talk to somebody that knows something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So some of the questions are pouring in here now. So one of them says, kind of touched on this a bit, what skills and experiences might be a requirement or to be successful in the field that you're in? You know, so like if you were bringing somebody on, what are qualities that you would look for in your team that as you're growing it?
Yeah, I mean, we're growing our team as well. So we like in the solution provider. So we call like people sub agents. So like when I got out of school, you could be an insurance agent or a stockbroker. You go get your license, and then you could sell. It's the exact same thing for my industry. What I find is on the sales side, honestly, the best job for me on the sales side was being a waiter. You know, hey, what do you need? What can I get you? How quick can I get it for you? And here's your check. It's literally, that was the best skill set that I picked up, and I didn't even get it at school. Okay, so outside of that, reading, being able to educate, just being a constant learner. You have to constantly learn in this industry. The people that don't constantly learn are shuffled out of the industry or have a short shelf life. Okay, so you got to be open to understanding it. Doesn't have to be technical stuff. It doesn't have to be, oh, I got to understand a POTS line, or, you know, it could be, you know, a business acumen. What I would say is if you guys can, go to any of the companies that I've listed on my presentation and go to their websites and look at use cases. And use cases are really about process and solving via process and be able to communicate that effectively, whether you're doing that orally or written. It took me a long time to do that written, oral. I still have, you know, natural fears about it, but I have to get over it. You know, so I would say willingness to learn, being able to talk to people, put yourself out there. A lot of times in this industry, so when I got into this industry, AT&T was going to go out of business. Like, we almost didn't have AT&T as a brand. So I didn't have to have computer or telecommunications industry. They just hired me because they had to, because everybody was leaving the company. That's why I say go check these companies out. It happens. And that's how I got into the industry. Nowadays, you know, some of the corporations have gone back to, you know, hey, we need an internship, 4-year degree. That's where you want to work with somebody like us at X3 Tech, because then you get the experience and you don't necessarily have to go get a computer degree. So there's lots of avenues, but just, you know, the two biggest things are willingness to fail, being able to put yourself out there.
All right, cool. We got 2 more questions as we wrap up. So first one is, what do you foresee as the biggest change or adjustment in your industry moving forward?
Yeah, so right now, the biggest thing, think of it almost like as a pyramid right now, okay? And at the top of the pyramid is applications. Okay, so one last story. So in 98, I got in this industry, thought I was going to be rich. I read a book called The Internet, Streams of Internet Income. And they said, first wave of the internet will be network, won't be commoditized, then it will be commoditized. Second wave will be where are you going to store, you know, servers. That'll be the next wave. Then it'll be commoditized and won't, you know, be worth. The last stream the internet is applications, and applications are ideas. Okay, and normally in the past, those applications or ideas are stored in a brain on a corporation's website. Now, all those applications are being either stored in somebody else's cloud or somebody else is providing the software in their cloud for businesses. That is the #1 change going on, is where that application is sitting. If somebody else is not providing what we call the stack underneath it, so applications, then what we consider infrastructure, which is servers, and then network, And then how are you going to secure it all? Well, because the top is changing, everything else underneath it has to change. So that's why look for software as a service companies. If you don't know them, reach out to me. I'll be glad to give you a bunch of the ones that are out there right now. And then look for infrastructure as a service. We call these like private cloud companies like Google Cloud, Amazon, Rackspace, some of the ones you haven't heard, Alibaba. And then at the network level, we call this SD-WAN and cloud like Cisco and Palo Alto. Those guys are changing. And right now it is a domino effect. And we are, the business world is going to go through this transformation for the next 4 to 5 years. And it's a fabulous opportunity to get into this industry, whether you want to work for a corporation or want to work for yourself.
Man, so much content. It's been an amazing chat. I got one last question. It's a personal question of mine. I saw an autograph on your hat. Who is it? How did you get it? How much you want for it?
I'm not giving it up, but so one of the cool things to be in my industry is if you're successful, you get the rewards, as well as you get to see a lot of people. So one of the events we went to, Terrell Davis was a speaker, and if you follow football or Terrell Davis or Long Beach State, we used to have a football team. Terrell Davis was probably the most famous running back or NFL player that I knew that came out of there. I got to be his handler for the day. And so he signed my hat, and he told me how he loved Long Beach State and playing for George Allen, and then went on to Georgia, to become a great running back. So, Vince, maybe I'll will it to you when I pass away, bro.
Thanks, Brad. So I'm going to send it back to Noemi as we wrap up. Thanks again.
Awesome.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Brad, for a great conversation. And we definitely encourage everyone to look for you on LinkedIn and start building that network. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We hope you enjoyed. And remember to follow us on social media to learn about future programs. Thank you and have a great day. If you guys